And I think we started, but we did the Mishnah. Excuse me, I remember it's Ralph. I will read it again. Halachai. Niftu Ziknei Yerushalayim. The elders of Yerushalayim went, left, Lochalayim, and returned to Yerushalayim. Ziknei Osayir, and the elders of that city. Mebim Eglos Boker, they bring a young calf. Asher Lo Uvad Ba, which was never worked with. Asher Lo Mashcha Ba'ol, that's a quote from the Pasuk. It was never worked with, nor did it pull a yoke. Vein Amum Posaba. It has any mum, doesn't matter. It's not like a carbon in that respect. So we take it down to a fresh wadi. It's the best way to translate nachal. And Esan here means straw, tough. Esan kamashma'o. Esan is as it sounds, kosher. That it's tough and that it's never been used, it's virgin ground before, not been used before. Alpha Pishain Esan, even though ever it's not virgin, it's not first tough, kosher, it's okay. You can use it too. We wring the neck, we chop off the neck of the calf, you kupit with a cleaver, or whatever similar kind of implement, from behind. When we come in a place where this was done, it's forbidden to plant, there and to hoe, but when it's allowed to comb flax there, and clean stones as well. Okay? Says more. Ashalo ubad ba, which was not worked with. Ubad means is passive, but we understand that means over here that ledas. That's only forbidden if it was with the consent of the owner that it was worked with. Then it becomes forbidden because it's that's the meaning of ashalo ubad ba. Ubad, we have the same thing by waters which are machshel kabel. It says asher yutan. Yutan means has to be given with das. So here too the work has to be done with das. However, when it says that it didn't pull a yoke, that's bein ladas ben shlodas, whether there was intent or there was no intent. That's the first Tana here on the Brisa. I think it's a Brisa. Actually, it's probably the Gemara itself. Rabbi Yonah Pasar Masni. So Rabbi Yonah said the Mishnah Soibat Asher Lo Ubad Ba. Where it says it wasn't worked with, so then Ladas. That includes with that's with intent, which we just said. Saying that we just said, I should say. Vashalom Mashcha Ba'ol, and which should not pull. You know what? Now I understand what happened here. Okay, starting him anymore. Shalom Baba Ladas, Shalom Mashcha Ba'ol, Bein Ladas, Bein Ladas. That's whole quote from a Brisa. Now we're going to argue about how to interpret the Brisa. Rabbi Yonah Pasar Masis, Rabbi Yonah explains this Brisa. Ashalo Ubad Ba wasn't worked with Ladas, with intent. It was worked unintentionally, that's okay. Rabbi Yonah Pasar Masis, so Rabbi Yonah explained the Brisa. Asher lo ubad ba ladas.
Asher lo mashcha ba'ol bein ladas bein lo.
Oh, I skipped the end of Rabbi Yonah's statement.
Yeah.
Asher lo mashcha ba'ol bein ladas ben shlo ladas, whether it's intentional or not intentional. Vushi yimshoch, as long as there was an actual pulling going on, not just that it stood still there with the yoke on it. Okay. Rabbi Yossi Pasmasti. So Rabbi Yossi says the whole price is talking about ladas. If it's ladas, afilu lo moshach, then even if the yoke was not born by the animal in any significant way, born, to traverse distance, as long as it's put on his back, that's enough to basel. B'shlo das, and conversely, what if there was no das? Vushi imshoch. In that case, if the animal pulls, it's possible, no matter if there was das or not. Okay? So,
what's the difference between the two shivas?
Rabbi Yonah says that the avoda has to be done with das, right? The Mashiach doesn't have to be done with das as long as it's actually pulled. Rabbi Yossi says that even if you didn't, it didn't pull, it's asur if there was das, and if there was no das, you need the animal to actually be pulled. What is the difference? That's right, he has a wedding tonight. He told us that he had a wedding. Probably was where Donald Berman is too, the new fellow. I should have made a chart of this. Let's try one more time. It is confusing. Rabbi Yehuda explains in Brisa, Asher lo ubad ba, if that we tie up, we explain Ladas, that if the avodah is done by das apostles. Asher lo mashcha ba'ol, that we tie up, regardless of how it pulled the yoke, whether it's a das or not. Rabbi Yossi says, well, if you have das, then you don't need Mashiach. That's argument number one, right? Because Raimana say you need Mashiach no matter what in order to passel. Vushi Yimshach, right? According to Rabbi Yossi, you don't need Mashiach if you have das. The das to have it bear a yoke is sufficient even if it doesn't actually pull the yoke.
Just putting the yoke on.
Just putting the shoulders, that's right. Right. Ba'asid Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shmuel. And here Rabbi Yehuda follows the line of Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Yossi Rabbanan. Rabbi Yossi follows the line of Rabbanan. Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda follows the line of Rabbi Shmuel. The Rabbi Shmuel Mar Kol Davar Shayad D'Chlal, anything which is included in the general principle of avoida here in our case. You also can let the avoida the cloud of avoida l'lamed in order to teach here specifically talking about the avoida of well, there's not avoida here. What am I saying? What is that mentioned here? This is the barn. No. Okay. It's like this. Anything which is in general principle, meaning Mashiach is part of Avodah. Mashiach is part of the prohibition of pulling was subsumed under the prohibition of work. So why does it have to be singled out? Right? That's Rabbi Yossi's issue. That's the issue here. So Rabbi Yehuda holds Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel Amar Kol Davar Asher B'Chlal, which is a general principle here of work. Yatzim came out of the general principle to teach and taught us here the halacha of the psul of Mashiach pulling yokes, right? Nekar Miklolo, it undermines its the klal, the general principle. V'arei u'b'chidusho, and it goes back to its chiddush, whatever it's mechadish in. V'fichach, therefore, tzarech meimar, we have to say, I'm lost. 1 second.
He's trying to prove that you need das for this work.
No, on the Rabbah, Rabbi Yehuda holds Mashiach is enough. Ben das, ben shlo das, Mashiach is enough.
So what's saying here? Asher lo ubad ba'al das.
I don't know. I'm confused. 1 second. Let's try it again. I'm not sure why I had a mental block on this. But Rabbi Yoina Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Yoina Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Yoina says that you don't need das. Das is not integral. It's going to Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel. Yeah, but I got it. The problem is there's no board in this room. Let's see what we can use here.
Board next door.
Yeah, we're gonna have to just let my. Let me see if there's some board next door we can move in. Let's make a chart. Indeed. Okay. Rabbi Yoina says. Recording over here. So, Rabbi Yoina says. Rabbi Yoina says. Das avoda must be lodas. Mashicha is lodas and shalom lodas. Okay. Now, Rabbi, as long as it does Mashicha, as long as it actually pulls. Rabbi Yossi says. Rabbi Yossi says that this also is lodas. Avoda is lodas. So avoda is also lodas. Those are the same, right? And he says that Mashicha. There he says by Mashicha. Well, here, Rabbi Yoina, the dash das musha yimshoch. As long as you do Mashicha, actually, right? Rabbi Yossi holds if it's ladas afilu below Mashicha. Even without Mashiach, you're chayav, right? If it's shalom ladas, v'hu sheyimshoch. So really the argument is by Mashiach. Rabbi Yoina holds the das and shalom das, or aser by Mashiach, as long as you actually pull, don't just put the yoke on the shoulders. Rabbi Yossi holds, even without Mashiach, it's aser, but that's only if it's das. But if it's without das, they need Mashiach. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Which is the same as
right
as here.
Right. So this is
There's only one.
There's only one difference because he says lodas. Rabbi Yoina lodas makes it. In that case, doesn't help at all. Doesn't make it chayiv, right? Because need Mashiach regardless, right? Right. He holds. Rabbi Yossi holds if it's lodas. Even without Mashiach, even just putting the yoke on asers. Okay? So it says, Gemara, Vasa Rabbi Yoina Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yoina goes like Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi goes like Rabbi Yoina. Rabbi Yoina Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Shmuel, called the Vashaya Bichlal. Mashiach was included in the prohibition of Avodah. The Yotzim and Alami came out of the prohibition of Avodah in order to teach. Nekar Miklalo, it's uprooted from its general principle, Varei B'chidusha. In other words, there's a chiddush here, right? Mashiach can answer even without das, right? What's Mashiach can answer even without das? This one. That's the chiddush. That shalom ladas works even with as long as the Mashiach works even shalom ladas. So that's a chiddush because avodah always requires das. Mashiach came out of the general principle. It came out to teach us this halacha. The even shalom ladas is us as long as they actually pull, right?
Doesn't Rabbi Yoina say the same thing?
What? No. According to him,
If it's lower das, who Mashiach?
You're right. So it's going to tell us the chiddush that even without Mashiach, if it's ladas, it's aser. Okay, good. That's what's going to tell us that with das asers, even without Mashiach. Kol v'shelach lefum kein tzar meimar shelo bad das. It's going to say shelo over the it's say about ladas. Ashelo mashcha ba'ol doesn't pull the yoke. Bein ladas ben shelo. I made a mistake. Not on the table, what I just said. But it says Rabbi Yoina goes like Rabbi Shmuel. Not Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yoina is going like Rabbi Shmuel. That's talking the Chiddush. If you chayiv and Mashiach, you move out without das. That's not the Chiddush. That's the Chiddush which it says here.
Okay.
Rabbi Yoina is going like Rabbi Shmuel. I said to Rabbi Yoina, Rabbi Shmuel, Markolim, Asher B'chla, everything which is general principle. Teach. Neck, I'm called the top room of its cloud. But every chidush on that, it stays with its chiddush. Therefore, Fum Kein Tzarech L'mar, it's said to say, Asher Lo, but that's the cloud Ladas, right? Asher Lo Mashcha Ba'o, Bein Ladas Shalom Ladas. This one which came out, it's both Ladas and Shalom Ladas as long as there's Mashiach. That's the chiddush here. Rabbi Yossi Rabbanan. Rabbi Yossi goes to Rabbanan. Rabbanan, I mean, they say, Harei b'chav, harei b'chidusho. You have to mediate. You can't say it's completely b'chodesh. You have to say it's partial b'chodesh and partially not. So therefore, they say, how do we reconcile? By saying we require das if there's no Mashiach. When do we not require das? When there is Mashiach. In other words, you can mediate. Rabbi Yossi mediates between the two positions, two potential positions. He says, hello. Again, let's see inside. Rabbi Yossi Rabbanan mean harei b'chlalo v'harei b'chidusho. It has to be an intermediate position. It has to be both the klal and the chiddush at the same time. So the klal is that there is an element of Mashiach which requires das. Right? In other words, in order... Yeah. What is it? What? Yes, you have to learn. You should have done the Mishmah Day. You should have done it. I'm going to take a cup of coffee. No, I'm serious. Take a cup of coffee. What? Where I'm Mem Beis Menach.
Page 83.
Just a minute, when we finish with this table, then we'll come back to. It's a little in the middle. So Rabbi Yossi says, again, Rabbi Yossi has to come out with it. Since it says that it's partly chiddush and partly cloud, so therefore he has to come with this principle that if you have das, so then you can say chiddushim without actually doing Mashiach. If you don't have das, no, it's the other way around, the chiddush. Now it's a chiddush. Let's see what more it says. It says, Rabbanan mirei ucha v'rei chidush alfum kein tzarech l'mar said to say, l'das afilu lo mashach. If there's das, then even without Mashiach. However, v'shlo das vushiyim shoch. If there's no das, then you have to do Mashiach.
Yeah, that's what you want.
You know, it's
Lower
right.
das,
Vushiyim shoch.
and then this is it. You wrote that.
Yeah, but what's the part which is the cloud? What's the part which is the chiddush?
This is the chiddush.
The chiddush is that if there's das, afilu without Mashiach.
I think that is because that's different than what Rav Yonah says.
No, but that's not a chiddush. That's part of his chiddush.
Yeah.
So the chiddush is the chiddush is shalola das u'sheyim shof. The chiddush is that you can ask him without das. That's the chiddush. This is not a chiddush. When he says l'das afilu v'lo mashicha, he's just learns that part of avodah. Okay.
Right.
In other words, I think I have it now. Rabbi Yoina holds that where the avodah is always l'das. Mashicha is totally chiddush. It's not at all connected to das. So regardless of whether there's das or not, Mashicha is what answers. Immaterial of Mashicha. That's complete chiddush. Mashicha is a completely different parameter. The avoda requires das. Mashicha doesn't require das. It has nothing to do with das. It just has to do with Mashicha. Rabbi Yossi, however, learns that Mashicha is partially connected to the old issue, to das, and partially not connected. So therefore, in Rabbi Yoina, das is not a factor at all, Mashicha. It's complete chiddush. In Rabbi Yossi, das is partially a factor. Why is that? Because according to Rabbi Yossi, that we have to take part of the klal, which has to do with das, part of the chiddush, which is shalola das, that's Mashicha. So Rabbi has an intermediate position, that if there's das, it also is even without Mashicha. That's anchoring back in the severity of requiring das. And then there's a chiddush, which is that if it's shalola das, it answers too. However, that's only if you did the opposite way. The opposite way. The chiddush is the chiddush is that shalola das asers if you actually pull. The thing which is regular is that the asers ladas even without Mashicha, but that would be das would still be a factor according to that perspective.
The point that they don't disagree, that is the chiddush.
Right.
The point that they do disagree, is not a chiddush.
That's exactly
that's why it's so confusing.
That's confusing.
You think
right.
when there's a disagreement, there would be a chiddush.
Right. Very good. Okay.
Good thing is,
Good thing we made the table, yes. Coffee is very good for wiping off tables.
especially if it's a coffee.
Okay, I'm going back to the Shana. Okay, Kama Yimshok. What is the shiur Mashiach when you pull a young calf? You know, you use it for the ceremony of Egla Rufa, which you do when you find a corpse. How much you have to pull in order to be Aser? So says the Gemara, Rabbi Omer Kimiluo. Rabbi says the full length of the calf. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Omer Sholosh Etzbos. You drag a 3-finger length. It's already considered to be enough. 3-finger width, actually. It's already considered enough to pass it. Rabbi Yossi Ben Neroy said, Maleha Olu Rachbo. The width of the yoke taken sideways, the way it's worn on the animal. Right? Boom Barachia Bokum, Rabbi Zira asked for Rabbi Zira, Asher Lo Barba Cloud. With you didn't work with it, that's a cloud. Asher, it's a question. Let's say it's a cloud prat. Let's say Asher Lo Barba, that's a generality. Asher Lo Mashchab, you didn't pull a yoke, that's a specification. And when we have a cloud prat, aim b'cloud masha b'prat. We have a cloud prat, we know that the prat, the specification, undermines the generality. And let's say that the only malacha which forbids a calf is pulling, not any other malacha. So as Maram Malaysi said, Ilav Aksiv, word to have said Asher Lo Ubda. It wasn't work with Asher Lo Mashcha, and what wasn't, but did not pull, Ya'us would be correct, be a cloud prat. It doesn't say that though. Leis Ksiv Ela Asher Lo Ubad Ba. The key word is ba. Ba is a mute. And I don't remember anything like this ever before Babli Yerushalmi, but the word ba can be used here to undermine a potential cloud prat.
Oh, really?
Not only that, although we haven't seen it yet, but the Gemara is going to assume Ba also undermines Gzer Shava, which is more reasonable. Yeah, if you have the word ba, I guess you don't have ba elsewhere, I don't know, but you have to have the word ba, so you undermine both the Gzer Shava and the possibility here of the making a cloud prat. Right, I'm sure that's exactly where they got it from. So it says the Gemara, Leisiv ela shelo baba ain't kan cloud prat, therefore there's no cloud prat. Ela ribuyim. What there remains is a ribuyin, a ribui. Ol exer shava. What's the ribui? What's the inclusion? It says ol here and it says ol the yoke by paraduma. Ma olam or ba'egla, just like the yoke which is mentioned by the calf whose red neck is wrong. Other malachos are forbidden, just like plowing, right? Just like pulling, right? Again, ma'amar bagla. So sabak made other types of work, ki'ol, like a yoke, which asks af ol amar parah. So too, when you have the word all mentioned by paraduma, the red heifer, that's what shakavot does ki'ol. All the work done with it is like a yoke, and it forbids it. Ma'ol amur bagla avoida. Ask the Gemara. So what about we say the yoke which works by egla roof to forbid the animal paisla. The rens apostle bain lodas ben shlodas, whether it was intentional or unintentional. Af ol amur para avoida poselasba. So too when it says the yoke by para aduma. So let's say that avoida is apostles in her. No, but I think that actually was the statement. I asked it as a question, but it's actually a statement. Going back 5 lines, where it says Ellery Buyin, all Gzer Shava is a statement, and then we bring the ramification of the statement. Ma'ol Amar be'egla, the whole which is stated by Egla, Asaba, Shokol Shavos Kahol, and the other Avodah also is like a yoke in that respect. Af Ol Hamor Paras, so too the whole which is stated by Paraduma, Nasa Bokol Shavos Kahol. All other Avodas considered to be like all.
So what's
well, suppose you plowed with it. Suppose you threshed with it. Did that also the animal as well? Any avoida.
And that's different than...
Well, we're learning Yerushalmi Sotah paraduma. That's what we learn out. That's when it applies paraduma as well. Okay? So it says ima or vice versa. Ima ola amur para. Hamurim postly about 1 second, but it says all by both of these. And by we know by the by paraduma there is a concept of what's my place? Ma'or amur begla avoida, begla. I'm sorry. Just like the stated by the Egla, avoida poselas babenadas. I got mixed up. I read it again the same line.
Unfortunately, these dots are confusing.
Yeah, they're confusing. Start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12 lines up from the bottom of the page. 2 words from the end line. Ma'o, Amar be'egla, just like the yoke mentioned by the Egla Rufa. Asabal kol sha'arvayis kol, all other workers like an ol and asers. Para sotu by par nase ba sha'arvayis kol, all other types of work as well. And ma'o amur be'egla, just like the yoke mentioned Egla. Avoida poselas, but work passes in it. Bein lodas, ben shlo lodas. It passes whether there's intent or not. Af ol hamor. Well, yeah.
You're saying that if you do Mashiach with the the animal that processes it because it's doing work,
Yes,
so then you can't use it anymore for neighborhood.
right. But it says here, what threw me off is the word avoda here. It's not, avoda sounds like any work, but that's not the case. Here it's avoda with the o. Okay, the second time it says avoda, 369 lines on the bottom. Ma'o amur begla avoda poselas ba. The yoke, no matter what work you do with the yoke, officers, right? Das ben shelo das, whether there's intent or not. Af all amur pora, so to the yoke mentioned by pora. Avoda poselas ba, the avoda wearing a yoke poselas in and of itself. Ben das ben shelo das, whether there was intent or not. So it says, well, that's the case, ma'ol ha'amur, ima, ma'ol, sometimes it's about ma'ol ha'amur b'pora, just like the O which is said by pora ha'ol posel ba. Is it obvious?
Just repetitious.
No. It means even b'diavad, it's supposed to chatchila. That's what Karma says. The O apostles, no matter whether it's Ma O Amor Para O Parsa the O makes it possible no matter what. Af O Amor Ba'egla, so to the O which is mentioned by Egla, O Posa the O possible no matter what, even b'diavad. Ima Ola Amura Para Amuri Posa, 1 second, if that's the case, let's say by Para Duma also Mumin, possible Para Duma. So I could call in that respect, it can't have any blemishes. So Af O Amur Ba'egla, let's also say by Egla, Amumi posting that the Mumi make a apostle. It says by Para Duma, by Mum Ba, which teaches us Hamuim Posa Para, Mumin possible for Para Duma. They can't pass up in the roof because the word is soft. So it says more top of mem base on base. V'omar, let it say. Well, it's like v'yomar. Let it say. Asher lo ubad ba. Let it say the words asher lo ubad ba. Avoda poseles. And that should teach us because it says that avoda by Egla Rufon. It says the word ba, right? Ba avoda poselas, vein avoda poselas b'para. That here avoda makes it possible, but not by para, by a para, because it says by Egla Rufa shalo b'para. It doesn't say by para duma. So I know that work possibles by para duma. So it says hacha asher lo of uvad ba. Here, when it says asher lo uvad ba, they have to take egla rufa, which is not worked with. Avoda poselas, we derive from this that avoda poselas, the avoda, the work parcels this animal from serving as egla rufa. Vein avodas psua vein avoda poselas mukdashim. However, avoda does not.
You can't work a hektish.
What?
You can't, but if it's worked before, it's still kosher.
Okay.
You can be makdish it before it was made hektish. Yeah.
Oh.
Then even though later on, you can even make an hektish from his back later on. Just can't work once it becomes kadosh. So let's say avoda doesn't pass by para duma. Asher lo ubad ba. So here it says the egla rufa is not worked with. Ba avoda posels, avoda apostles by her. Vein avoda by the egla rufa. Vein avoda posels mukdashim. Avoda does not passel by hektish. Yes, why is it possible by paraduma?
Because of the bra. There's no bra in the parsha of Mukdashim.
No, 1 second. Pnei Moshe explains it here. It's a little bit complicated. He says that the Gemara in Yerushalmi says the ba, which is said by Paraduma, and to teach us that mumim still confused. Let me start the page again. Va mashalo badva. Let's say you can't work in it. That's by the egla rufa. Ba avoda posels ben avoda posels bepara. Right, but work will not spoil paraduma. Says Manohach asher lo ubadba. Here asher lo ubadba is another preclusion. In other words, it must preclude somewhere else where avoda is not doesn't possible, but that can't be. That doesn't necessarily be paraduma. It has to preclude somewhere else where avoda does not possible the object. That can't be para, because it says asher lo ubadba. Ba avoda asers and not something else. What's the other thing that avoda doesn't aser? Karbanos mamish. Karbanos mamish can be worked before they're turned into karbanos. You know they can be worked? They become karbanos later in life.
Okay.
So therefore they can be worked beforehand, right? Because you make a karban which is already an animal which is a year old or 2 years old. What? Not for, no, that's the point.
Okay.
That's what it's saying. Right? It says shalo ba, and that teaches us that avoda passes only egla rufa. Now, what? So, and not the absolute mikdashim. What about? What are you going to say? Where it says over there by paraduma asher ein ba mum, that mum doesn't apply to that mum applies to paraduma, not to something else. What does it apply to? There you have no choice but to say that it doesn't apply to egla rufa, because it certainly applies to karbanos. Because all over Torah it says that your carbon has to be tamim, right? So therefore, what the Gemara is trying to do here, more at a clash between two bas. There's one ba which it says by egla rufa, from which we derive that only egla rufa can't work, but everything else can work. And there's another ba which is used by paraduma to teach us that by paraduma mum passes, but not by something else. So let's make it reflexive of what we just said by egla rufa, that ba it passes to do work, but not psulim mikdashim. So to ba it passes by to have a mum paraduma, but not by kachim. You can't say that, because kachim by definition are not allowed to have a mum. So that ba must be coming to preclude something else. Another case. What case is coming to preclude that ba? That ba is coming to preclude egla rufa. And Kaitel said mum is not a psul in egla rufa. Okay? But ba to mum not in egla rufa. Mechusay evarim maushi possible. You allowed to use animals missing limbs for egla rufa. I feel karbanos may noachinam. No, you can't use even a ben noach can't use an animal without a limb for a carbon. Located Rabbi Yasa, because didn't Rabbi Yasa say, Pasha Rabbi Lezer Chevra, Rabbi Lezer explained to the Chevra, Mikol Achai, Mikol Basar, when Karbanos Noach, they bring from all living creatures, from every animal. What does Mikol Basar mean? From all of the animals. Shleim Vevarin, they have to be complete. So maybe also Koshken Be'ezla Rufa, which is not Benino, which is Jewish, it has to be complete. So I have no comparison whatsoever. Taman Isham and Mizbech. There, that's the start Kachim goes part of it goes to Mizbech. Maybe right. So it says tomorrow, but Rav Hachem Mem Mizbech here, nothing from the Egel goes to Mizbech. So what's the comparison? So he says, Rabbi Chudim Shem Yerushalmi said, became that Omer Kapora Ksiba Kachim. Then it says by Egel Rufa Kapora, like by Kachim. So Kamisha Shem Mizbech, zip part of them is going to Mizbech. Treifa maushi possible. If the animal, the Yehuruva turns out to be treifa, it's a possible. Of course, you're not going to eat it, but there's a possible the service. Mikevon, since that Omar, Yesh ben Mizbeach, did you say that they're like the Mizbeach, because it says a kapara by them, treifa posels, but if the Yehuruva turns out to be treifa, taka possible. Hoisa rago kluto kashol chamor. What about a round leg like a donkey, not like a calf? Mat of Allah, what's the status of that? Kimchuseres Aver Kabbal's mum was like that missing a limb, or like having a mum. Ain't of the Nekim Chuseres Aver because it's like missing a limb, psula, it's no good. Ain't have the Kabbal's mum, you say it's about mum, ksherer, then it is okay. Okay, so we don't know what the baskan is.
It doesn't have a split hoof, has a round.
Right, one of its hoofs is
But
rounded.
it's not a kosher.
But it's a genetic problem. Everybody could tell it's maybe it's even split. It's just rounded as opposed to whatever the.
So it's still an edible animal. If
Right.
You want to just
Right. Ma'ushiachsher. The blood of an egel roof is considered to be the roi la'achila, that it should be machsher, something being makabel tumah. Tani Reb Chia damatame. Reb Chia said the blood is tame, right? So if it's tame, the dama machsher makes machsher l'kabel tumah as well. Chad Shusab, a certain old man, showed Rabban Kisarin, asked Rabban Kisarin, Arifaso Mausha to tire Trefasim Mitumas. And obviously he didn't learn the previous sugya, because he's asking about Trefa. He's asking whether that Rifas Egla can get a person out of the problem of the problem of Nevela. If you shechli found it's a Trefa. So luckily, had you left it around till it dropped dead, it would be Nevela. But now they shechted it, does it retroactively become a trefa, not an avela? So they said, Miman anan, I'm saying this line. They say, he said to them, B'lam he says in the Mishnah, Hashochi v'nim tzar trefa. It says you shecht, and you find it's to be a trefa. So then we say that it doesn't become an avela, because the shechita rest the process, it'll never be makabel tumah. Here too it says the same thing. So he said he missed the point. Manam bayon, what am I asking about? I'm asking about, it says here trefa, it should be the arifa. I'm asking about arifa segla. And you're bringing me a case of shchita. Of course, once you shecht it, it doesn't lose any, have a shame tum anymore. But I'm talking about when you're going to kill it, not shecht it, what's its status? So they said, located Rabbi Yana, it's like, dear man, name Rameir, Afilu, even here it should be instead of trefa again, arifa. Afilu arifa chayv. If you do also vesbeno, you slaughter the mother and daughter in the same day. That's also vesbeno, and that's shaykh egla rufa too. If you slaughter the mother and then do egla rufa the same day, that's a problem. Also vesbeno. So what do we see from this clearly? It would seem that again that's divrei meir. V'amalei lokein Rabbi divrei meir. Afilu. Even, again, it should be arifa chayiv. Even if you do arifas egla, you're chayiv for also vesmeno. So you see that it must be a valid shchita, because otherwise you can't be chayiv on also vesmeno. Also vesmeno is only a valid shchita. So it must be that egla rufa vis-a-vis certain aspects has a din of a valid shchita. And therefore, if the animal is treif, about to die, but you quickly made an egla rufa, when it does die, or if it's killed, it doesn't become the veil, it becomes a treif, and instead it's not makabel. It's not makabel tumah. Okay? Is that relatively clear?
Yeah. I was just wondering how you knew that the animal, without doing an egla roof, how do you know it's a trefa?
Enochanami, it's a theoretical question. Nobody's ever going to find out.
Because you don't
check it out, right?
Right.
Okay, so Amalon, so he said, retort them. Amalon mina daughter Rabbi Yana, I told Magimeli, you want to respond to you from Rabbi Yana's statement, who says it's a legitimate statement. More is the fact going to have such an issue in just a couple lines. Eitan. It says, tough kishmul, like it sounds, kosher, tough. Eitam Moshavecha, that's what Bilam said about Yisro. Eitam Moshavecha secures your sentence, your dwelling place. V'sim asal k'necha, put your nest in the rock. Aval pisha einei son, nevertheless, the dub b'di'evet, if it's not a freshwater kosher, it's okay. L'kaval son, similarly, aval pisha ein nachal, even though there is no,
Summertime.
What?
It's a dry wadi.
Yeah, even though it doesn't even have a wadi, I guess, either in the middle of the plains. Aval pisha ein nachal. Right? Kosher, it's valid as well. Tara Rishim B'Chai, we looked at the name of Rishim B'Chai, V'Oridu Ava B'Shei Nachal. They took down the Egla Rufa even though there was no body present. Says the Gemara, that Rishim B'Chai is not a raya. The Yerushalmi Sotah mean Elaine the Hachataman. That's the name of Rabbi Yerushalmi Sotah was made by those who are here from over there. A couple lot ago it said Elaine the Hacha or the Hecha. The bottom line means the same thing. It means that there's a Babylonian name of Yerushalmi Sotah. We don't trust the Babylonian as far as you can throw it. So therefore we don't trust in that. Yerushalmi Sotah said even without a wadi it's okay. So as the Gemara again, the Rayochan Kolin, the Rabbi Yerushalmi Sotah, this repertoire says the Yerushalmi Sotah. I mean, Elaine the Achen, it's in those which are the Elaine. I mean, Elaine the Achen. In other words, it's whatever. It's bogus in the name of Yerushalmi Sotah. So he didn't actually say it. He was made rather by a specific individual of Tanoim. We don't rely on this tradition which they had. You have to do a rifas egla with two or most of the two, meaning the trachea and the esophagus both severed. It's here for the liver out from here. Opposite the place where the neck is kosher to engage in shchita. Kenegdo corresponding to that the oref kosher lemalika. During those times, the person doing rufa could do malikas as well. Anyway, what is leading into a question? V'cheinu amar achein by egla rufa. It's not a question. It's a statement. Whatever you require by Malika is what you're going to require by Egla Rufa as well. No more, no less than that. And those will be the same parameters of Tumah. Where's that? Here, where it says, Connect. I'm welcome to Tzavar Mutter Kosher Shchita Connected to Oref Kosher Lemlika V'cheinu Amarachein. So you say your Egla Rufa. So if you have to do for Malika, if you have to do most of the Simonim, you have to do for Egla Rufa as well. Talmud we learned over there. Yesh Chorish Talamech. There's somebody who plows one plow furrow. V'chayav Lemishur Shemar Lavi commits 8 prohibitions. Now, which one do we leave out there? Weight seems like a lot. But Rabbi Yoshi boy Nisnei Achorish Mokum Arifasa Shel Egla. Or if his plowing a place where an Egla Rufa was neck wrong. Hare Tisha, that's the 9th prohibition, which is 9 numerated there in the Mishnakos. Rabbi Yossi, so the fellow in front of Rabbi Yossi said, that maybe is going like the Mandomer says L'Shavar. That the Mandomer says L'Shavar holds, it's gotta be it's gotta have been an Achilles until now. And if you go and you, no, it's the opposite. He who would ask the question that you should give Malchus holds, like the man Omar, who holds yeah, okay. So he said, it could be that we only, the only time, still not grammar. Okay. The only, could be that he holds that the Isser is not an Isser to plow where you made an Egla Rufa, but it's Isser to make an Egla Rufa in the place where you plowed once. Maybe that's the Isser. So you can't say that if a guy who plows somewhere, when Egla Rufa is done, is transgressing an Isser, another Isser linear Marcus. Because the Isser is taking place where plowing had been done in the past, and doing Egla Rufa there now. Right? it's a chicken and egg thing. It's not that once Egla Rufa is done, you can't plow there. Rather, you could, if you plowed there, you couldn't do Egla Rufa. So there's no way to add on a lavir because this plowing now is not the isser. Making Egla Rufa after plowing is the isser. So the Gemara rejects that. Says, well, I'm alone. So he said, Man di Islay l'shavar koshkein l'haba. No, anybody who holds that you're not allowed to make that roof in a place where people work, certainly you're also not to go and plow there in the future, and therefore the question returns, why aren't you getting a ninth set of malchus over there? Anyway, regardless of that, we don't answer that. It says, Mar makom gisasa, the place where the animal dropped dead, tfisasa, and all around it, tfisasa means it's a state, so to speak. Harelu asur, and they're all asur. The kami tfisasa, what is the estate of the Egla Rufa? It says your Dawud Amos is supposed to be 40 Amos. As you see, Rabbi Omer Ani, he says, Shetfisasa Chamishim Amos, it's 50 Amos. 50 Amos all around. I don't know exactly what it's called, Tfusa, Glarufa. Maybe because the minimum, maybe, I don't know exactly why. But the area, the general area becomes also a plant up to 50 Amos. Ashur Braid Rabbi Yosef Rabbi says, Ashaloy Obed Ba, let's say Shaloy Obed Ba is a cloud. There is a prat. Same question we had before. Cloud prat, enim cloud lamasher prat. And maybe the only thing you're also to do is plant. He said, Ilu avaksiv asher lo yabeit, take out the word bow. We're not to have said, we're to have said shlo yabeit, asher lo yisrael, you also would be a cloud prat. Leis ksiv el asher lo yabeit bow. Right? The bow prevents us from learning a cloud prat. Ki ha'ad amar Rabbi Zira, just as Rabbi Zira said, ein kam cloud prat el ribuyin. In this case, so this, since it says ba, so therefore it's two separate statements, not one generality, one is specific. Rather, one is telling us to include that you can't make the garufa in a place where it was plowed previously, and the other is going to tell us you can't plow in a place where you made an egg garufa. All right, that was much rougher than I thought it would be. I don't know why. It was just choppy. Anyway, it'll be easier on Monday. What?